conference. It is being hosted here in Uganda, and it commenced on Tuesday this very week and will be running till tomorrow. Now, joining me on set is a panel of auditors, of course, members from the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda. And I'm blessed to have, that is Mr. Moses Kasacha, who is the Senior Vice President of the IIA Uganda, which is Institute of Internal Auditors in Uganda. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Robert, and good morning, viewers.
And I also have, that is Mr. Hussein Isingoma, who is the President of the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda. President, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, viewers. Nice to be here in the studios today. And
then on my extreme end is a lady, and that happens to be Madame Doreen Ruth Motebe, who is also a member of this panel. You're most welcome, madam.
Thank you, Robert, for having us. Good morning, viewers.
Now, when we talk about the term auditors, many people who may not be well abreast in this formal way of doing things will wonder, first and foremost, even before you look at the institute, what it is, what it does, who are auditors, the people that are now coming together for this 16th annual conference. I'll begin with the Senior Vice Chairperson, that is Mr. Kasacha.
Thank you so much, Robert, for that question. Who are the auditors? And actually, also, what do we mean by the Institute of Internal Auditors? Auditors are people who are skilled and experienced in reviewing processes in an organization and advising management and the boards or governance bodies in there on areas for improvement. They look at the organization, identify objectives of the organization, and things which might affect the organization to achieve its objectives. And so they go in there, they are trying to go in there and advise management and the boards on areas for improvement. But also, not only areas for improvement, also opportunities that may be existing that management has not yet tapped, that may help the organization actually flourish. And like this year, we are talking about organizational sustainability. So auditors come in, review or examine your organization and help you on, advise you on areas that will help you go forward in the future, transform, grow, and sustain yourself in the business. But there is the other one of the Institute of Internal Auditors, which I would also like to speak to the audience about. About 8 years ago, a group of professionals came together to formulate the Institute of Internal Auditors Global. And to support this whole process, the profession to grow worldwide, it was encouraged that besides the Global Institute, which actually sets the standards and also comes up with materials that help members, respective countries were also encouraged to start local institutes. So when we talk about the IIA Uganda, we are talking about the Institute of Internal Auditors Uganda, which is an affiliation to the Institute of Internal Auditors Global. Our headquarters are in Florida, in the US. And we also have the Continental Institute, the African Institute of Internal Auditors. So in brief, that's what Institute of Internal Auditors is all about, and also what auditors are all about. And somebody may want to find out, so what? I think this is very, very important. One, for upcoming internal auditors out there. Two, for members who are looking for internal auditors out there. Three, even for existing internal auditors who may not know. Why this institute? One, this institute, is a brand. It's a global brand. Robert, it's like going to the market, looking for a product. One is branded. You know where the producers are. If there is a problem, you can reach out to them. And then another product is not branded. So it is very, very important that members identify themselves with the Institute of Internal Auditors because it's a global brand. Even employers will be happy to pick somebody who actually is regulated because the Institute puts in place codes of conduct, it puts in place tools that internal auditors use. So by the time you pick an internal auditor who is a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors, you are picking a very good product that is professional, that has integrity, is guided by values, and looks forward to actually continuing improving the organization. In short, that's what internal auditing is about, and that's what the Institute of Internal Auditors is all about.
Hussein, as the president of this institute, what is our membership like? The membership of this institute, do we have scarcity? Are they in plenty for employers, for people who want these? How big is the workforce, or how big is this institution?
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, viewers. The Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda, came into existence 20 years ago. And this year, as we hold our conference, we are actually also celebrating 20 years of existence. And the membership, up to date, we have around 786 members. That is up from around 33 when we were established. This membership, like my colleague Moses, the vice president, senior vice president, has spoken about, it's a brand. Institute of Internal Auditors is a brand. And what is that brand coming with? It's not merely belonging to the institute, it's about getting the certification which distinguishes you from any other person in the market. And that's what we live for. Are we in scarcity? Yes, we have so very many auditors around the country, but what is in scarce are those who have that distinguished brand name, which sometimes we look at certification. In this case, the prime certification under the Institute of Internal Auditors, which is issued global and recognized, is the Certified Internal Audit Profession. There are others, but that's the prime certification. So the numbers are growing, we're happy, and that's why, as you'll see, our focus is growing the membership. Growing the membership, but also professionalizing that membership. Because there's a difference between membership, there's also the professional a bit of it. So we are actually looking at both, because we need our numbers in terms of what is it that we have to offer, but also distinguishing that membership into the professional class, such that our brand name is actually being able to be picked from the market different from any other person who offers internal audit practice.
Very interesting. There is no scarcity, but of course it is both quality and quantity at this institute. So people out there, at least there is a place we know that you can find people that are skilled, professional in running this. Doreen, now we have an ongoing conference. What have been the driving factors? Because it is different from having an annual event and having intended purposes, why this has been conducted this time around.
Thank you so much, Robert, for the question. And every year we have an annual conference. And the reason we have these annual conferences, like my colleagues have mentioned, the intent is not to have just quantity, but quality. So in addition to the certification in internal auditing, we get together every year to discuss trending matters, to discuss emerging issues. So if I look back at last year, we had the pandemic, COVID-19, which impacted the way businesses are operating. It has disrupted supply chains. It has disrupted the way that we are working. Right now we have people who are working from home. And then we also have those that are working from office. In Europe, we have employees who feel they shouldn't go back to office. They only want to work from home. So as organizations, how do we deal with such matters? We have issues to do with cybersecurity. People that you would not want to access your systems, accessing them without authority. How do you deal with those things? So as advisors to our organizations, as people who are walking the journey with different institutions, with any business person, and we're not only talking about institutions, but anybody in business. These things impact the way we work, and they impact the profitability that we are going to have. They impact the service that we are giving to our communities. So we get together every year, just like we have done this time round, to discuss how we as internal auditors can give advice to our organizations, to the partners that we work with, to business people out there, so that they achieve the reason for setting up their businesses.
Very interesting there. Now, knowing that I have auditors, one of the joy that comes to my mind is knowing that I'm having people who are very resourceful in the fight against corruption. Mr. Kasacha, this brings me to you. With a huge force, like you've been told, a professional body, what has been your contribution in the fight against this cancer that is slowly by slowly taking away what would benefit as citizens of this country?
Thank you, Robert, once again. Corruption as cancer, which is unfortunate, and it affects businesses. We, as an institute, we have been involved in fighting it in different ways. One, advocacy. At all times when we meet our members, like now we are doing, and actually yesterday we had the Vice President of Uganda, and there was significant focus on fighting corruption. So we take an opportunity as an institute to advocate for fighting corruption. And so we empower our members when they go out there. By way of doing our work, we factor in an element of establishing fraud in the organization. And wherever it is, we advise management on loopholes, because it's not only important to say there is fraud in the organization, but also point out what has made it possible to occur. And so that is one of the ways we have come in, advise management on the loopholes which are in organizations that the respective organizations can actually then address. And that way we contribute to fighting corruption in the organization. The other one is personal. Like I told you earlier, one of the advantages or the benefits of the Institute of Internal Auditors is the advocacy. Even for us, one of the 4 very important values is integrity. We ourselves demonstrate integrity, and we are part of the leaders in organizations. Now that tone is sent down. In fact, in many organizations, you can even actually send triggers by saying internal auditors are coming. And everybody, that alone, sends a message, and that's very important, that internal auditors don't want issues to do with corruption. So, and that's very important. So I would encourage many organizations to actually institute internal auditors by mention of that alone. And of course, internal auditors are also human, and I want to take this opportunity to actually caution internal auditors who might be found wanting, that we must live up to the expectation of our standards and values, and we must support and help permeate integrity in our respective organizations. And then we also actually make publications, including awareness, like now, and I'm glad you've raised this question. Internal auditors advocate for integrity, and I want to end with this one. You can have highly qualified staff. You can have highly experienced staff, but their competence alone is not sufficient. The foundation of success of an organization is integrity. And we, as the Institute of Internal Auditors, as a body, and even our members, we advocate for integrity in organizations.
Well, of course, sometimes you hear reports of having been compromised, but good, you've said that internal auditors are also human, and integrity is something that they should always forward. Now I come back to the president. 20 years you're celebrating, 20 years of existence. Well, there we wonder, what are some of these key milestones that you've been able to achieve in this spell of 20 years of existence?
Thank you, Robert, and once again, viewers. We've been in existence for 20 years, as you've said, and as an institute, which is actually part of the global network of 190 institutes globally. We are 1 out of 190. The membership is around 200,000 and it's growing. Now, the same thing is that one of the key milestones is the growth of membership themselves. We've talked around the issue of not only having numbers, but also having quality. If I may, from the Senior Vice President's issue, he has talked about the integrity. Actually, we have what we call the Code of Ethics, the Code of Ethics for internal auditors, and the Code of Conduct. One of them is ethical, objectivity, independence. And of course, all these are very, very critical for us. They form foundations. You can be held accountable for breach of any of, as long as you are a subscriber to the Institute of Internal Auditors, you are a member, you can be held accountable for a breach of any of those, the Code of Conduct. But we have grown the membership from 3302 when we came into existence to 786 members, what we call in good standing. Those who are able to do, for example, what we are going through, the continuous professional education, which requires not merely becoming a member, you are required also to be upskilling and updating your skills on an ongoing basis. And we have minimum number of hours that is required. So the membership has grown. We have seen also being recognized. Last year, Robert, we were recognized as the most strategic partner, professional body, at the 30th celebration of 30 years of existence of Uganda Revenue Authority. Among so many professional organizations that you may know in this country, accountants, engineers, and so on, the Institute of Internal Auditors was awarded as the most strategic partner in the professional body categories. So that is a good milestone for us. We've also been we've been conducting training for our members, but also for other entities. Just Tuesday this week, we started with the Board and Audit Committee, which is also an annual event where we bring boards of directors, internal auditors, chief audit executives, chief executive officers to be able to come together and discuss issues to do with governance, which is a key area, because in internal audit we look at 3 areas: governance, we look at risk management, we look at internal controls. So we've had those key milestones, and then of course awareness, which my colleagues have also talked about. We actually been also recognized for the 3 years running now as the awareness champion in terms of making people aware about the role of internal auditor. This recognition is a global recognition. So from 3 years now, latest being 2021, we have won a global award for being one of the champions in terms of internal audit awareness in the different sectors where we are and the affiliates that we have around the globe. Yeah.
Well, a number of achievements there. I was waiting for an award as key in fighting corruption. But we hope that next time I have an opportunity to host you, that award will also be. Yeah, well, the Senior Vice President will be leaving us shortly for other commitments. I'll allow him in a minute or two to have his final remarks for now.
Thank you so much, Robert, and viewers. This is what I want to make reference to, something you mentioned when people hear about internal auditors. Internal auditors at one point in time were only looking at financial accountability. And when you look at financial accountability, somebody might have missed a receipt and then he might be thought to have stolen money, which feels bad. That tag on somebody feels bad. Somebody might have maybe not accounted in time, not that he lost the money, but not accounted in time. And so at that time, internal auditors were seen as policing agents, people who are there to catch fault. But I want to tell viewers, businessmen out there, and those who've been trying to make a decision whether to have internal auditor or not, or auditors in general. Internal auditors are there actually to support you. Internal auditors are there to look at the health of your business, and I advise you on areas. Earlier when we were starting, Robert said corruption is a cancer, but advise you on how far the cancer has gone. If it is small, cut it off. and move on. If it's that big, then apply different methodologies. So internal auditors are there to support businesses flourish, to support businesses grow, give you new ideas, new insights, and it's not there to advocate for fault. It's not about fault finding, but about improving organizations. And I want to encourage businessmen to actually embrace internal auditors to help you. Internal auditors have an eagle's eagle's eye. We are the only group of people besides the CEOs. It's only internal auditors who look at the entire organization. And internal auditors understand the linkages in an organization. Many people are always focused in their areas, departments, but internal auditors appreciate that organizations work together to produce the final good. And so you need internal auditors in your organization to support you in this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. As Senior Vice President of the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll still be discussing more regarding internal auditors and, of course, the ongoing conference of internal auditors that is being held in Uganda. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals, out-of-this-world celebrations.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Go TV, love it.
Even with my grandson, a doctor at my side, I struggled to get the help I needed. But he saw something that day. He began to work day and night. He wouldn't quit, even when people said no. He wouldn't stop fighting. He knew something had to change, and his vision was bigger than anyone could imagine. He made it possible to receive quality medical services anywhere in Uganda by simply using a phone.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you, or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Total Energies has undertaken a number of initiatives aimed at ensuring that Ugandan entities and citizens are adequately equipped to participate in the oil and gas sector.
Yeah, we do manufacture and supply personal protective equipment. We supply beyond Total Energies. We supply their subcontractors. Yeah, we have seen our company transform from a trading company to a manufacturing entity who are able to set up some of these facilities that we are enjoying right now. And these facilities also are supporting other sub-sectors. So they have no idea what oil and gas is, but the items they are using are a result of oil and gas. Overall, the industry, manufacturers, suppliers, traders will all enjoy.
Total Energies EP Uganda is committed to the empowerment of Ugandans to take an active part in the overall development of the oil project in Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, This is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short break. Thank you for keeping it with us as we are still discussing matters regarding auditors in this country, and of course, to be more specific, we're handling issues with the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda, but also we are joined by, that is the former global president of the Institute of Internal Auditors Global. Now what this means, Uganda, our institute, is an affiliate to this body that brings together 190 organizations from different countries. And that is Mr. Phil Tarling. You're most welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Well, before I bring in Phil, allow me go back to Doreen when we talk about this conference, to throw more light. Beyond the conference, what else? You have auditors that either are members or not members that are watching us. What else are we factoring in beyond just the conference?
All right, so thank you, Robert, for the question. In this conference, we are not only speaking to ourselves as internal auditors. We are having conversations with our key stakeholders. So like the President mentioned, we started with the Board and Audit Committee workshop at Serena on Tuesday, where we had our keynote speaker, Phil Tarling, the past chairman of IIA Global. And then we also had a message from Charlie T. Wright, who is the current chairman of IIA Global. And we also had, we had the story, the 7th-year journey of Uganda Clays Limited from the MD, Mr. Tumwebaze. So we are not only speaking to ourselves, we are having a conversation of how is it that we can actually sustain our organizations. We also had conversations from a representative from UNDP about climate change. Last year, again, you saw what happened in Uganda. In the western part, we had the river in Kabale that flooded, and we have also had landslides in the eastern part of Uganda. So then, starting Wednesday, we started the conference with the internal auditors, and again, it's a dialogue. We're having CEOs. Yesterday, we had Mr. Ernest Rubondo from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. We also had Madam Ruth Sebatindira, a lawyer, in the room to talk to us about how we can go about sustainability. So we're putting our minds together on that. And then the President spoke about 20 years. And you said you're looking forward to an award that will be given to the Institute of Internal Auditors for fighting corruption. So tomorrow we have a conference gala, which we usually have every year, but this one is slightly different because we are celebrating the 20 years. And we will be recognizing all the partners that we have worked with over the 20 years. We will be recognizing the founder members, the people that came up with the idea of starting the Institute of Internal Auditors in Uganda. We will be recognizing our long-serving internal auditors that have supported the journey of the 20 years. Our staff, we have a staff that has been with us for 16 years. So right from the first conference that we organized, this is the 16th. So that staff has been with us for all the 16 years. And then today, we will be having some workout. Auditors are not only serious, that we don't do anything else. So we have a fitness session today. So if you went to Munyonyo today around 5:30, you'll find internal auditors in sportswear working out. And there's a lot of networking, there's a lot of interaction, so it's not only hard stuff about internal auditing. We are having light moments later today. We've been having networking all through, and then we'll close it with the gala. And unless something changes, the MD of UBC will be at that function. Thank you.
Well, I can't miss out seeing the serious people now doing some fitness there. If I were a member, I would gladly be part of that.
You're welcome.
But
you can join
the
us.
mathematics, you know.
No, there is no mathematics at the gala.
The gala. Very interesting. We just hope the weather doesn't mess up anything. You know, the Pearl of Africa, anything can happen.
Yes.
We anticipated that, and the function will be inside the hall. It will not be
Great.
outside.
Now, with the former chairman, that is of the Institute of Internal Auditors Global, what was your message to the board members and also the delegates at the conference?
Well, really, the conference was around about resilience and sustainability. And the important thing is that we have to recognise that there is change. There is always going to be change within society, within business. What we have to do now, though, is recognise that change is happening very, very quickly. A lot quicker than it always used to. And one of the examples I use is that the transistor radio took something like about 38 years to actually be owned by 50 million people, whereas the iPad took 1.5 years. Now that's the speed of change that we're going through, and we have to be ready to actually work within that speed to actually note down that there's going to be changes, try and anticipate what those changes are going to be, what are the opportunities for business with those changes, and what are the risks. And as internal auditors, we've got to advise our organisations on how they can cope with taking those opportunities or actually negating those risks. And so my main message to them was, think about how quickly you can act. Are you agile enough to be able to cope with the changes that are coming?
Very interesting. You've talked about the change that is happening very fast. And of course, for us in Uganda is that whatever development comes, we also have the craft people that come up. Well, there are some tips for our auditors on how best they can match with these changes, more so in perfecting the art of accountability and professionalization.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I would agree with the previous speakers that one of the main factors of becoming a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors is that you get a network of people that you can actually work with, that you can learn from, because people learn from each other. And I think some of the tips that we were giving was that we've got to keep our eye open on inflation, and that is going to happen. Gas, energy prices are going to be very, very much a factor in the next few years, particularly with the geopolitical position that's happening at the moment with the war in Ukraine, etc. So we've got to be ready for that. I do some work myself in Romania, and I'm working with a company who are installing solar panels on warehouses and manufacturing plants on the roofs, so that they can bring their energy costs down. And it's those sort of things that we need to get our internal auditors thinking about, to provide that sort of business advice before it actually becomes an imperative.
Hussein, as the president of the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda, now before Sechaya left, he talked about why people should employ internal auditors. It's not only for accountability, running here, but for that advisory role. Help us understand the difference between internal auditors, external auditors, accountants. Maybe some business people may not see the relevancy. If I have an accountant, why do I have to have an internal auditor then? And all this, because we must really understand that yes, these are different, if at all they are, and why then one would opt for an internal auditor as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Robert. The question that you brought up is a question actually when many people do ask, what's the difference between an internal auditor? Must we have an internal auditor when we have an external auditor, when we have an accountant? Purely yes, the answer is yes, you should. The two people play different roles. Number one is what is the focus? The focus of an internal auditor. The focus of an internal auditor is about organizational value, protecting organizational value and ensuring performance improvement. When you look at the external auditor, he's basically looking at the fair presentation of financial statements, whether those financial statements actually represent what we call a true and fair value, not true and correct value of underlying transactions. Number two is the skills. Internal auditors are actually interdisciplinary. They should have different skills. Why? Because, like my senior vice president alluded to before, we are looking at the whole organization, holistic view of the entire organization. What is production doing? What are the people in, I don't know your departments at UBC. You'll have studios, you'll have technical people. The internal auditor is going everywhere to provide that assurance, but also advice on how things could be improved. When you look at the external auditor, he's basically looking at that issue of the skills that he needs more are more financial skills and accounting. The other issue is about, of course, how do we do? For us, we give what we call it's not an opinion that we give as internal auditors. We are looking at as an overall conclusion in terms of what we have done, what we have looked at and reviewed as internal auditors. Maybe also the most important thing also which we should be looking at as internal auditors is the issue of our focus. We're on the third line of accountability, if I may say. Well, the question that comes in, and I think viewers should be able to understand this, whenever things have been happening, the issue is where have the internal auditors, where were they? The internal auditors actually play a third role of accountability. The first role is management must be doing the right things. We should have compliance function, and very lastly, the third line is the internal auditor. So we give the assurance, but also advice. Why are we different? We are flagging emerging risks. That is looking at foresight. What could happen tomorrow? What is it that we see, the trends? We're also giving insights. We're a source of knowledge to management. An internal auditor should be able to give knowledge to management in terms of taking up what are things that are changing, what's cybersecurity, for example. What is it that we need to do? What are others doing? So those are issues that really distinguish us between the external auditor and also the internal auditor, where we belong. Yeah, sure.
Very interesting. Now, for those people in business who have this belief that business is all about maximization of profit, and when you talk about an internal auditor, all they'll think is, well, I have an accountant, was said by the president of the institute. There are so many benefits that you need an internal auditor in your organization. Now, Ruth, this brings me to understand, how do people, we have those that are in school, those that are already many there, how do they get in touch? How does one become a member? Because when I look at your membership, 786, I have a feeling there are many out there that are not your members.
Yeah, sure.
But they are qualified. Yeah, sure. There are many out there that maybe would want to engage and better work with this Institute of Internal Auditors. How do you move around that?
Thank you so much, Robert. And probably before I answer that question, I will just add to what my president mentioned. And I like the way Honorable Evelyn Anite nailed it yesterday at our official opening of the conference in the setting of the public sector. So the internal auditor is giving advice to the executive, to cabinet. So the ministries, departments, and agencies have an opportunity through the Office of the Internal Auditor General to actually take up the reports of the internal auditors and correct them before the Auditor General comes through to raise a report that goes to Parliament. But back to the question that you asked, how does somebody become a member? We have 3 categories of members. We have those that have a bachelor's degree in a business-related qualification, and they have also got the certification in internal auditing that the president spoke about. So if you have that and you have 2 years experience, all you need to do is complete our application form and pay a fee of 450,000. We have a membership committee that assesses the validity of whatever has been submitted, and they will make a choice as to the admission of the membership. Then we also have another category of members. As long as you have the bachelor's degree in, you could be a compliance officer, you could be an IT specialist, you could be an engineer, you could be any other, you could have any other qualification. You can also apply and pay a fee of 450,000, and the memberships committee will still consider that. We also take care of students. We have students that are interested in becoming members. All they need to do is get their testimonial and a reference letter from the dean of the faculty where they belong, and then they will bring that to the institute. So the other thing that the other two categories have to bring is 2 reference letters, one from your employer, if you're employed, and another one from a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors, somebody who recommends to us, and that's it.
Well, membership is easy as that. Well, Phil, this brings me to a question. How is the Institute of Internal Auditors Uganda linked to the Institute of Internal Auditors globally in the USA, Florida, and what are the benefits, if any, for this membership?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Robert. It's an interesting model because it's about the only model of a professional organisation that actually has affiliates in every country and in fact has one sort of set of standards. And I think the main thing that IAA Uganda get from the global organisation is that they have access to the standards, which are revised periodically so that they reflect business improvement, business styles. They have access to a code of ethics. They have access to a well-stocked professional sort of library of material that they can access at any time. And they also have the ability to influence the way that the profession works, in that they are able to nominate people to join global committees. We have in the global organisation there is something like about 12, 13 different committees who look after aspects of the profession, such as the education topics. They have research. In fact, Doreen here is going to be a member of the research committee and meet twice a year in wherever. Usually one meeting is in Florida and then the other meeting is with the international conference. So there is a lot that an institute can get out of being a member.
Very interesting. Now, Hussein, as the president, 20 years of existence, how do you give back to communities? Are there some campaigns that people watching, when to this corporate responsibility, where are you?
Thank you, Robert, once more. How do we give back to the communities? First of all, we giving back in a sense that, for example, I mentioned earlier that for the 3-year running, we have won a global award for awareness in terms of the role played by the internal auditors in trying to improve organizational resilience, but also sustainability. So that's one way in which we give back in terms of an indirect way, but we know that we are a change agent in terms of building the effectiveness of governance, risk management processes, but also how organizations are controlled. That is one. Now, in terms of the direct corporate social responsibilities, if we may say so, if I may use that word, you remember when we had the landslides in Budunda, we, us as the institute partnering with other stakeholders, we contributed, I think, 100 blankets through Red Cross to aid the people who are suffering as a result of the landslides. But again, if I may, because you've mentioned one thing, one of the issues that we are trying to build, and for issues of sustainability, but also to have a national footprint, is really to engage engagement of stakeholders, to be able to for not only, because internal auditors, we are not isolated, we serve to protect organizational value and be able to see that management is doing a good job in terms of achieving their own objectives. So we're going to be engaging more in terms of stakeholder engagements by looking at organizations, having fora in which we can go out. We have to go out to find these organizations and speak to them. Because one of the things that we see is that the private and public sector need to come together. Yesterday, actually, when we had the CEO of the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, this was one of the things that we saw as a key impediment in terms of growing this country, in terms of national development, but also giving back. Because the people in the private sector may look at themselves differently, the public sector alike, they look at themselves. There's a lot of misgivings about each other. So we want, as an institute, to be part of the change management of this, so that we are able to give back, not only in one sector, but holistically as a country, the private and public sector. And the Institute of Internal Auditors, as you see, has a very good mix of the private sector, internal auditors who are there, and also public sector. I am from the public sector, for example. Doreen is in a semi-public sector, but we have so many other members who are there. So we are looking at that, and we are planning going ahead in our strategic plan. We are looking at increasing the corporate social responsibilities by especially leveraging what we call the Internal Audit Awareness Month, which is coming in May next week. We shall be going into a full month of trying to make ourselves, we normally engage, we normally give back in terms of knowledge sharing in that 1 month. And it is the award which I talked about, the 3 years, we have globally been recognized for that job. Thank you.
Recognition, sensitization, awareness regarding issues of internal auditors is something that really needs to be given enough attention out there, because many people just think that auditors are about holding people accountable, looking for mistakes, looking for what has not gone very well, but also they do institutional advice and guidance, the internal auditors. So I feel that is something really very interesting, and I hope that come by the end of the that is annual conference, the 16th that we are having now in Uganda, so much of this will be achieved. Well, I'll go for a short break, and when we return, we will still be discussing more regarding the Institute of Internal Auditors Uganda and also the globe. Now that the former president is with us here, that is Phil, we'll still be discussing more in relation to Uganda as well, and also a bit of our economy. Now we have these rates of inflation, the fuel prices. I believe the former, that is a global president, is something I'm really eager to have his opinion on that. But we return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals, out-of-this-world celebrations.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Gold TV. Love it.
Even with my grandson, a doctor at my side, I struggled to get the help I needed. But he saw something that day. He began to work day and night. He wouldn't quit, even when people said no. He wouldn't stop fighting. He knew something had to change, and his vision was bigger than anyone could imagine. He made it possible to receive quality medical services anywhere in Uganda by simply using a phone.
This is a story of a regular Ugandan just like you, who harnessed the power of technology to provide a solution for us. How about you tell us your story? UG needs more of you. To share your story, visit airtel.co.ug/UG needs more of you or call or SMS 162. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Total Energies has undertaken a number of initiatives aimed at ensuring that Ugandan entities and citizens are adequately equipped to participate in the oil and gas sector.
Yeah, we do manufacture and supply personal protective equipment. We supply beyond Total Energies. We supply their subcontractors. Yeah, we have seen our company transform from a trading company to a manufacturing entity. We are able to set up some of these facilities that we are enjoying right now. And these facilities also are supporting other sub-sectors. So they have no idea what oil and gas is, but the items they are using are a result of oil and gas. Overall, the industry, manufacturers, suppliers, traders will all enjoy.
Total Energies EP Uganda is committed to the empowerment of Ugandans to take an active part in the overall development of the oil project in Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back, and thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV as we are discussing issues regarding the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda, but also the Global Institute where Uganda is affiliated, a body that brings together about 190 organizations globally. And for Uganda's case, membership is at about 786 members. Now, joining me on set is Madame Felicia Tugonza, who happens to be the Risk and Internal Audit Manager, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, which is also partnering with the Institute of Internal Auditors in Uganda, and of course globally, in organizing this conference. You're most welcome, Madam.
Thank you.
Well, to begin with, as a member of this organization, and of course having been a member for some time, what lessons do you learn from being a member and also in regards to improving service delivery?
Okay, as a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors, the benefits we get from subscribing are enormous. I'll just go through a few of them. The first one, professional belonging. As a Risk and Internal Audit Manager of UBC, I feel proud to be a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors, because whenever there is an issue or a professional dilemma, I have a reference point and we get quick assistance from the Institute. The second one is networking. Through these annual conferences, we get to interact with internal audit staff of different industries, government, private sector, and we share a lot, we get to learn a lot. So that's the second benefit. The third, they've built my capacity. The Institute of Internal Auditors conducts capacity building occasionally. These conferences being among the modes of building capacity. So through capacity building, I've been able to improve on my knowledge on risk, governance, and internal controls. And therefore, I give my advice to the MD at UBC and the top management team with confidence, and they are based on up-to-date information that I pick from the Institute of Internal Auditors.
Well,
That's what I can
okay, a number of benefits there, and we are proud to be a member of the institute, because if our risk and audit manager has been able to benefit from that, that is, I think, one of the reasons that we are proud of Phil. Now we want to go to global issues.
Yes, Robert.
With specification onto Africa. What is your opinion on the current inflation and fuel prices that Africa is experiencing? Okay, global, but Petro, I want to look at Africa. What would be your advice?
Well, I think all the indications are that the inflation is going to increase in Uganda, particularly because it is increasing everywhere at the moment. I noticed just before I left the UK, the monthly increase inflation rate was 6% in the UK, 8.5% in the USA. Now, you've got to think also about not only the fuel crisis being caused by the Russian sanctions and the war in Ukraine, but you've got to also think about the difficulties of the supply chain. With, I don't know whether you might have seen it, but in the with the lockdown in Shanghai, there's something like about 2,000 ships anchored off Shanghai, doing nothing at the moment because they can't get in or out. That has a tremendous effect on the supply chain, particularly for places like Uganda, for Africa, because you do have quite a bit of imported material. I looked at the figures, and for I think it was 2020, you imported something like $17.5 million worth of cereals from Ukraine. Now, that you're not going to be able to do that for the next year or so, I would hazard a guess, because of the current war. So there's going to be an impact there. Cereal prices are almost certainly going to be pushed up, and also, as you say, gas prices. Europe will be going after the LPG market a lot more than they do at the moment with the lack of Russian supplies, and that will have a knock-on effect on the price of LPG, which is important to Uganda and to Africa. So I think although a lot of this is happening away from Uganda, the problem is it's going to have a sizable impact upon the way that things go within Uganda, cost-wise, certainly.
And then what would be your advice? You've given us the problems, the impact, but advice?
I think what we have to do now is we have to start thinking about how that is going to impact upon our business, our organisation. We need to make sure that we think about the impact on staff. You know, people will be wanting, as inflation hits, salaries will need to be increased. You need to think about how you're going to keep the talent within your organisation by either increasing salaries or being a better employer. It's not always money that motivates people. There are other motivators. So you need to look at how you're treating your employees. You need to think about how you can actually use energy more efficiently, and there is a lot of need for this anyway because of the climate crisis. But potentially the price rises is going to be the main sort of motivator behind people actually looking at their prices. But I think the other thing you can do is look at how you can actually get materials in country rather than have this long supply chain to other places. It might initially cost more, but it might actually in the long term benefit not only the country but also the organisation.
Indeed, internal auditors offer advisory services. That is what I wanted from Phil, and I must say you've delivered justice to my expectations. Now, coming back to Hussein, as the president, what are you doing to recruit more members? Because, for For Uganda's case, I hope Phil is not listening to this. What happens, a number of these professional bodies, what they do is they try to ring fence. They make it very hard for newcomers, for new members. I don't want to mention the key bodies because they know that if you are a member of the Institute of Internal Auditors Uganda, like you say, there are a number of privileges. If I have a business, I'm looking for auditors, I would come to you. So what they do is, it's hard for you to get there. So how are you handling this? How are you making it maybe easy, more friendly, to recruit more members into this?
Oh, thank you once again, Robert. I think as president of the institute, my focus going forward is not only the 786 members in good standing. That's what we call good standing. Actually, we're much more, but what we talk about is good standing. Are you able to
so that
subscribe those who have met the continuous professional education requirements and so on? We are much more than 786. But my concern as president is really looking at those people who are not outside our scope already, because that's the way we can actually sustain ourselves. And one of the issues that we see, which is very, very critical, it's about our focus, as I told you, is organizational improvement, protecting organizational value. And that's only the basis how the economies can grow beyond organizations, because the summation of organizations make out an economy. So the functions, the organizations must prosper in order for the economy to prosper. And we have an input into organizational prosperity. So the more we have members who understand our role in terms of contributing to organizational success, the more even as a country benefits in terms of its economic development agenda. This is the issue actually which our chief guest yesterday, the vice president, also alluded to. They are looking up to us to see that we can improve organizations. So what are we doing? We are going out to make chief executive officers appreciate the role played by internal auditors. What is the value proposition for internal auditors? We are going out because once that they understand that, one, it will be, the beginning will be having an internal to function in an organization, be it internally sourced or externally sourced. Then the second point is that because of that, the numbers, because IIA is a member organization, the more the membership, the more the strength, the more the impact we have on the economy, the more the impact we have on the organizations. So we are going into awareness, we are going into collaboration, we are going into education, we are going into training to grow this membership. Yeah.
So much that has to be done, and we hope that it will be done successfully before the next annual sitting with Jasper and Hope. Now, Felicia, when we talk about this conference, I just want to be now here a bit selfish or greedy. As Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, how do we stand to benefit?
As Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, I've already mentioned some of the benefits, but deriving from this conference, which is ongoing, first of all, UBC has a functioning internal audit department which subscribes to the Institute of Internal Auditors Uganda. Our objective going forward, arising from these conferences, we are going to engage the board and the technical management team to ensure that as UBC, we do a rethinking of UBC post-COVID-19 pandemic, in consideration of all the factors that have been discussed by our leaders here in studio and over the 4 days of the conference. This, we hope, will strengthen the people resilience at UBC and UBC as an entity. Why are we going to do this? The purpose is to ensure that there is prosperity, first for all of us at UBC, which will enable us deliver on our vision of inspiring Uganda. And this will, in the long run, enable the government deliver on its stipulated NDP3 programs, which are 20 as per now. And when we do that, we shall have contributed positively to the vision of Uganda for God and my country. Thank you.
Well, we can't wait to see this being put in place. And of course, this in one way or the other will promote, that is the organization sustainability at such a time where, of course, we know a number of companies were hit by COVID-19 pandemic. But we thank the Lord, we thrived and we shined. And at no time do we fail to deliver our mandate as a corporation. Phil, looking at this year's theme, very interesting, rethinking organization sustainability. We know some, they are no longer in existence. Some now are becoming so mean in terms of employment, where even maybe some may not see the reason why they should have internal auditors. Briefly throw more light on how organizations, people that are watching this podcast this morning, that can really have this sustainability at such a trying time.
Yes, Robert, it has been a very trying time for many people around the world. But I think what you've seen in a number of countries, and probably here as well, is that you've seen people actually shine with new ideas. And you know, one of the ideas I always think about is that back in right at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, in the UK there wasn't enough breathing apparatus for people to breathe. And so they went to the McLaren Formula One team and said, invent something. And within 2 days, they'd actually invented something which was very, very small. It was very easy to make, and it made a total difference to the sort of recovery of patients. I think that's the way that I would say to talk to business in this trying time. You need to see it as being an opportunity. You need to empower your people to think outside the box. You know, okay, we've always done it that way. Well, let's stop doing it that way. Let's think about a different way of doing things. Let's think about how we can be more efficient. Let's think about how we can use our people better. And I think it's a matter of everybody sort of thinking more about how they do things, how they manage things, than sort of just thinking, wait a minute, we've got to cut costs here. Yes, there is a need to cut costs, but at times you need to spend money to make money. You know, there is that reverse psychology that you sometimes have to employ to actually get to the point that you want to be at.
Towards the thinking outside the box for you to achieve organizational sustainability, but also you need to spend to make money at such a time when many organizations are factoring in reducing expenditure. We hope you don't reduce to reduce money. Sometimes Phil brought it out. I love that. You need to spend. It's a business tip for me this morning. You need to spend to make money. Well, time is also much on our side, and I'll begin with Madam Felicia, your concluding remarks regarding the ongoing conference, but also the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda.
I want to thank the Institute of Internal Auditors, Uganda, for this annual event that has empowered us. At the same time, allow me to thank my employer, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, which has always supported us as a unit in the institution to deliver to our expectations. I don't remember if there is any single time I've gone to my MD to request for assistance regarding empowerment to do my work, and he has rejected. I'm proud of that support, and I pray it continues. Thank you.
Really, we need that, and like we say, it's not all about accountability these days, but that advisory role that I find very important when it comes to internal auditors. Let me have your final remarks, President of the Institute.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you very much, viewers out there. We have a critical role as internal auditors in the national development agenda. I have already explained how And we cannot really underestimate the power and the impact that effective internal audit can play to organizations, but also to the economy as overall. So on behalf of the Institute, of course, one, I have to appreciate Uganda Broadcasting Corporation for coming in to support us for this conference, and we're also looking at future partnerships that really benefit of us. The Institute, of course, going forward is looking at a strategy. Number one, we have to grow the membership, and we shall be going through the outreach programs to ensure that the membership grows, but also ensure sustainability. In sustainability, number one, through our people, the secretariat, the membership. We look at also leveraging digital space. How do we see ourselves in terms of the services that we offer, in terms of the information that we give out, and the stakeholder engagement? And of course, we are looking at leveraging the cyberspace itself, which is basically the digital. So we say that as the Institute of Internal Auditors, we are really poised to really to contribute. One of the things that I wanted, which were commented earlier, is the fight against corruption. And really, we as internal auditors, we do three main areas. We are looking behind, we are looking at present, we are also looking forward. So at each and every level, we are really contributing by flagging what is going wrong, what might go wrong, seeing what is happening today, but also making reflections of what has happened. So we think I leave to the viewers and our membership who are watching that Institute of Internal Auditors is growing and will continue to grow, and we shall be supportive of the organizations, our membership, and the national economy. Thank you very much, Robert.
Finally, that is the former chairman of the Institute of Internal Auditors, Global Phil. Let me have your final shot.
Thank you, Robert. Well, yesterday I heard Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, say that the government supported fully internal audit within business and public sector, and that they would be supporting moves to increase the level of internal audit in the country, which I found very, very useful, very important message for internal auditors here. So I would encourage undergraduates to think about internal audit as part of their studies. I would encourage businesses to take on internal auditors as advisors. As Robert says, it's very important. We are not just bean counters. We are actually advisors on business. And I would hope I might not see it, I'm fairly certain I won't, but I would hope that another 20 years of success to IIA Uganda.
Well, I want to thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, and of course, I just want to wish you fruitful deliberations at the ongoing conference so that we stand to enjoy the fruits of the outcomes of this conference, not only in the fight against corruption, but also this advisory role that rightly the President put very forward there. And of course, also Mr. Moses Sechaya also said so much that internal auditors are not only there, every organization needs them because they'll give you issues, advisory services regarding the future and the success of that organization. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. God bless.
Live from UBC Studios in